What's poppin', fam? Welcome to Don't Touch My Mindset, a podcast that is designed to uplift, inspire, and motivate you, and most importantly, share tools to help you protect that mindset. I feel good. Hello. Happy Sunday. I am your host, 𝘗𝘗𝘚D, and I am thrilled to be here. Super excited to be back with you guys. First and foremost, I apologize. I need somebody to hold me accountable. So if that's you, let me know. Reach out to us. So I need you to hold me accountable. I am sorry I missed Wednesday. I missed Mindset Day. Life, we are going through it. So we're back. We're back with Pivotal Moments, and I got an amazing conversation, an amazing guest. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about purpose. We're talking about loving yourself. We're talking about not even knowing that you're in a toxic relationship and how to find those things. Man, so good. So thank you for tapping in. Thank you for tuning in. I just want to say thank you so much for rocking with me. We got a bunch of amazing stuff coming up, so tune in on Wednesday. I'll be back with another Mindset Day, another mindset to get you through the week, and get excited, because we got some exciting things coming. Please go check out the Instagram at Don't Touch My Mindset or at the 𝘗𝘗𝘚D, and go check out the website at don'ttouchmymindset.com. I love you guys. Keep rocking. Keep going. Let's dive.
Yes. Go for it.
Awesome. Hello. I am here with Karlie Lottermoser. You just told me to say that. Did I say it correctly?
Yeah. Yes, you did.
Amazing. Karlie, please introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, what you offer, all the great things about you. Go ahead.
Hey guys, I am in London, Ontario. I am recently a newer coach within the last year. So I essentially just help any individual. I started with only females. We can get into a little bit why I transitioned to both genders after, but I just recently started taking on male clients also. And I just help people find themselves again and be positive and find courage in the things they've had to overcome and the traumas that they've had to face in their life, and just how to pivot our mindset to be different and not see trauma as such a bad thing. Although it's not fun to go through, but it can help us heal and learn and grow and help each other. And for me, trauma was a huge learning pivotal thing for me. So that's kind of what I do. I coach people on that, and that is kind of the gist.
Yeah, that's that. Well, I'm excited that you're here. Super grateful to share some insights, some knowledge.
Yes,
with you.
thank you.
I mean, it's an honor. So I'm super interested. What made you make that transition to help women, then the transition to help men? Unless that's all included in the pivotal moment, we can save it for all that good stuff too.
We learn from our traumas. We typically always find what we're used to. So when I was picking partners to be with as I grew up and dating, I was finding myself falling into those old patterns of our bodies and our minds are kind of just shifted toward things that are familiar to us and familiar to our minds. So I found myself dating a lot of toxic people and ended up in a very toxic relationship for 7 years. And that was kind of my pivotal moment, leaving that. But after that, and when I started coaching, I think I was just so anxious about coaching men and having to deal with men and maybe what that would bring for me, if I was going to be a trigger, if I was going to be able to help them, sort of all the anxiety kind of about that. And then it was actually my boyfriend and I and my best friend, we were like, why not? Why not? You could do it. You're good at it. You will help so many men as well as so many women. So why can't you do it? Just try it. If you don't like it, whatever, you go back to only coaching females. And I've actually signed more males on in the last month than I have females ever, which is crazy to me. But that's just kind of the way it is. And just dealing with it and facing those adversities has been super powerful.
No, and it makes sense to me because as I think about like my childhood trauma and the things that I went through, and as I heal, all my therapists have been women, and we're talking about my mother issues that I have and my mother wounds and things to get past those roadblocks to become a good partner in relationships and things like that. So I think you should keep going. I think you should only coach men. No.
Yeah, maybe someday, but yeah, it's like it's just crazy how things just kind of fall into place after you go through those things. And you really have to work on your mindset, and you really have to work on like your anxieties and internal beliefs about things to have those changes. Because if you don't do that, and you don't do that work and internal work, and you don't work on those things that cause you anxiety and those triggers and those kind of things, like it doesn't really help and it doesn't change anything. But I think coaching men has also helped me a significant amount to see men differently.
That's huge. That's huge. Actually see like the silver lining in men. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Like now I'm in a very healthy relationship, but even that, it took over a year for me to say like, okay, let's date. Like, let's actually try this out. Like, I just didn't know what to do with good men. Like, it didn't make sense to me. I've never had good men in my life. I don't have a good relationship with my father. I never had good relationships with any men when I was younger. And then I had a narcissistic ex-boyfriend for 7 years, and it just kind of spiraled into each other. And so learning to unlearn is probably the hardest thing that anyone could ever do.
Yeah. And that's vital when it comes to growing. Not forgetting, but separating what we've always known, separating what we've always learned, and the decisions we've always made. That's something that I speak about a lot. But this is all about you. Take me back to that pivotal moment. What was that pivotal moment for you? What happened? Take me there. This is all you.
Okay, so almost 4 years ago now. It's been over 3.5. It was 7 years of this like narcissistic relationship where it was like on and off, but not really on and off. Like he was like labeled as that because I could go out and do, whatever he wanted to do. And it was right after Christmas. I think it was Boxing Day or the 27th, one of the 2 days. And I had a message from another woman basically just saying that my boyfriend was out cheating again and that she had figured this out, and kind of sent me like the evidence, whatever else. And this had been going on for a long time on top of many other issues that we had. And it was in that moment I was at work, and I've now left that job from all of this too, but I was working in a high needs males group home for teen boys that were like aggressive physically and everything. And I was at work that day, and I had 2 of my best friends there with me, and I just sat in my manager's office and I was like, I'm done. Like, I need to leave. Like, this is finally it for me. Like, this is my breaking point. And at that moment, they were both like, good, like, let's do it. Like, nobody in my life ever pushed me. My family wanted me to leave for a long time. But it was in that moment that I finally had the courage to just leave. And after that, obviously, there was months of emotions and months of kind of going back and forth, and am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? And, kind of all over the place. And then you realize, like, obviously after that 3 years, I've learned like that wasn't really love, like what love really means to me, what healthy relationships look like. And through that also, I recognized like just different things about myself, like that I didn't want to work at that job. Like that was just toxic. That was just adding to the toxicity in my life, and that I just needed that change for myself. So 3 months later, after I left my boyfriend, I left that job and found a new job, and like everything just kind of kept spiraling in life after that. And I just kind of like, that was my first pivotal moment. And now I feel like there's pivotal moments all the time where change is necessary and change is good, and growth is how I see it. So I just think that was like my number one pivotal moment, the moment I finally decided to leave that relationship.
That moment where you kind of just like woke up, you're like, yo, I need to take control.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I feel that. So
sorry, like I stopped putting like him above me, and I was like, just because he uses these words, and how narcissists do, they say the things you want to hear and they do all the things you want. In that moment, I was like, this isn't helpful for me. And I never thought about myself before. I was like, if I leave him, what is that going to look like for him? And how is he going to be okay? And blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly I was like, what about me? Like, what about me being okay? What about me being happy? What about me caring about my soul and my purpose and my passions? Like, when does it shift for me? And that's the moment that finally shifted.
Wow. That's so important. I like to ask people, what do you think the payoff was for you to keep it the way it was for so long? Like, what was the benefit of that? Because I feel like in some point, like in the midst of it, we see the benefit. Like we operate from love, but we see the benefit. So what do you think that was for you?
Yeah, I think it was just like the idea of it was easier. Like I didn't know, like if I was to leave, how would I pay my bills? What would I do? We had a dog together. Like my whole childhood life was like moving or not having places to stay and not having houses to go to. And like in this relationship, I finally had like my own place to live and, like these things. And so at that moment, in those times, as unsecure as it was and as unhealthy as it was healthy for me in a sense of I had a place to belong. And I also I'm such a healer and I just take on all of that for other people. So I always just thought like, stick it out and it'll be okay. He's going to change. He's going to realize he's going to change. It hits you that those kind of people don't change. Like that doesn't just happen. And that's not my work to do for him to help him change. But in those moments, I think I just stayed because it just made it easier. Like it was easier than trying to figure out my life otherwise.
So fast forward to you leaving, what would you tell somebody in that particular situation right now who thinks that it's easier to stay, who doesn't know where to create home or find the courage to do that? What would you tell them?
Like just have courage. Like and even when I left, like I didn't have a place to stay. Like I was sitting in that office and my friend said like, come live with me. And so I did. And I think just having the courage, like everything falls into place. Like sometimes we will never understand things, but we will in the end. And it doesn't always make sense and it's not always going to be easy. And that was honestly the hardest thing I've ever done, is leave that relationship and rebuild myself and rebuild my life. And that was so hard, but so impactful and so meaningful. So if you're stuck in those relationships with that toxic energy and, as when you're dating a narcissist, you're never going to find somebody as better as me. You're not going to ever find something the way like this love is, all the things that they say just to kind of keep you there. And you end up believing, which is why I was there for 7 years. You believe all those things, like no one's ever going to treat you as good as I am. Nothing's ever going to be this good. Like, and you start believing that this is a healthy relationship, especially if you've never had one, and B, you don't know if it's not going to be that way. Like, did I believe that he loved me? Yes, but that wasn't really love. Like I think as a child, I was so programmed to believe that people love you even in the hardest of times, and even when people aren't present, like not having people in my life all the time, and people still saying like, oh well, they still love you. And that was like them telling you like just to accept the love the way that it is. And that's something that took me a long time as an adult to learn. Like you don't have to accept love for the way that people are telling you to accept love. Like love to you can be something so meaningful and so powerful. And if you're in that toxic relationship, like that's not real love, and you don't have to settle for that, and that's not healthy. And you will find yourself again, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of personal development work and a lot of mental work and emotional work. But finding yourself again after that, because I had no idea who I was leaving that relationship and who I had become in that relationship. And finding myself after that was the most powerful thing. And that is what I work to do now, is have people just live in their power and find their purpose and be exactly who they're supposed to be after losing themselves in whatever situation that they may have lost themselves in.
I love that you just said that, because it just like perfectly fits into what I was thinking. I always ask my guests, if you take away the titles, if you take away the successes, if you take away the trials, the tribulations, who are you and why are you here?
I would say that I'm here to help people. Wholeheartedly believe that I belong in coaching and helping and healing. And I think that going through traumas makes you really find your purpose, and not necessarily even traumas, but going through hardships in life. It doesn't have to be traumatic. That is how we grow, when we find strength to be exactly who we are supposed to be in whatever walk of life that is. For me, my coaches in the past, like coaches that I had when I used to compete in bikini fitness, they're the ones that said like, I should be a coach. Like I'd be amazing at being coached. Like that is where it is. And it's always kind of sat with me, but you always have that doubt and that like little bit of discouraging faith in yourself, and that just take the leap, like just do what you're meant to do and follow your heart and just do it, follow your intuition and follow your heart and do exactly what you're supposed to do. And that is exactly what I've done for the last couple of years. It's just follow my heart and do exactly what I'm supposed to do whenever that comes up. And how I was saying about pivotal moments, and we always have different, there was one pivotal moment, but now there's so many because changes keep coming, and that's going to keep happening for the rest of my life. I just try to not look at change as a bad thing anymore. Even if it seems negative at the time, like it's always going to be growth and it's always going to be good, and change is good.
Oh, yo, you're laying down facts right now, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So that makes me wonder, what is something that you did right away after you left the relationship, after you moved out, after you kind of got a grasp on it? What did you do right away? Did you go straight to character development? Did you seek a therapist? Like, what did you do after that? After you realized, after you left, what did you do?
Oh gosh, those couple months, like immediately after, was like the hardest time in my whole life because there were so many emotions. And again, dating a narcissist, they try and convince you that it was wrong and it was, all the stuff. And you get caught up in that. Like, no matter where you are, you get caught up in the lies and that defeat that they're trying to give you, and all those like negative things that they're trying to spill to you all the time, to make it seem so good and so powerful and come back and back and back. So I think the most important thing for me at those times was to not go back to that, to not fall back in that pattern and believe that I was going to end up back in that relationship ever, or a relationship like that. But I would say the first few months was literally just like me in survival mode, like going to work and just like trying to be alive and to be like a functioning human, to be able to go to work and like do things. And then once that phase kind of passed, it was like just rebuilding my life on my own, just taking the time. Like, I didn't date for a long time after, like a long time. And then it was just that time to just focus on me, and that was different things. So there was therapy involved, there was working out involved, meeting new friends, finding myself, finding my hobbies, and just finding where I felt happy again and where my happiness kind of lied. That was like my number one thing after, just figuring out like what happiness looks like again, because I did feel that for so long, and I was in that toxic relationship for so long that I lost myself completely. I had no idea who I was, who my friends were. Like, when you're going through those relationships, I think a lot of us know that you are alienated from your friends, your family, kinds of all of that stuff. And thankfully I had friends that did stick by my side through that, and I did lose a lot of friends through it, but I also think that there's a reason for those friends to not be in my life, which I accept and I think is a good thing. But there was people that stuck by my side, thankfully. And through that, like, just building new friendships and building my life all over again was like the best thing that I have ever done for myself.
That makes me so happy. Congratulations.
Thank you. It has been a long time coming.
You seem happy. You seem happy.
Yes.
And that's why I'm excited to have you on the show, because you've been through the things. You know what the journey looks like. You know it's not easy, and you know that life will come and expose you to all of the elements. One more question on this pivotal moment for the listeners, though. But how would you explain to evaluate someone's relationship if they don't know that they're quite there yet, but they're in it? Does that question make sense?
Like, how could they figure out whether it's a toxic relationship or not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I feel like there is so many ways to do that. The biggest things for me in my relationship were like, I couldn't do things on my own. It was so controlling, to the point where I would be, and this is the maximum controlling, so I'm not saying that people can get controlled in all different kinds of ways. So if you're in a relationship and you're wondering if you're just being controlled and it's unhealthy, chances are it probably is if you're asking about that control. But for me, there was things like, I would go to work and I would be dealing with crisis with one of the teams, and my boyfriend would be texting me and being like, who are you talking to? Why are you talking to them? What did you talk about? Asking me everything. Who are you standing beside? Why are you standing beside them? What does that look like? Blah, 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 blah. Send me a picture. And those things never clicked until after. Now that I'm in a healthy relationship, I'm like, oh, that's so unnormal. Like that's just not something you should always need. And there's a difference between like being anxious and like needing a little bit of reassurance versus like being controlling. So that was one of the number one things, just being like so controlled of like what I wore, who I talked to, how I talked to them, when I went out for dinner, when I came home from work, if I took an extra shift, like any of that kind of stuff was a huge thing. Something I would never tolerate in a relationship again is cheating. I don't believe it's a mistake. I think it's a choice now. And I used to think it was mistakes, and there always used to be like, try and define it for myself and be like, oh, it's okay because, you know, he still loves me and whatever else, and it's not okay. Like cheating is not okay. That's a number one thing for me. That's an absolute no. It's feeling of being manipulated is a huge thing for me. And even after, when I did finally start to date after a few years, I found myself still dating people that were sort of manipulative and would kind of like give you it all at one time and then take it all back. And there were these highs and the lows. Like that's a huge thing. Recognizing whether your relationship is healthy or not is like those massive highs and those really low lows. Like that is that toxic cycle of whatever. Like if you're in a healthy relationship, it's just flowing and it's just easy and you're just trusting, and it's just there. And like that is something that's huge. And I learned through therapy this idea of love bombing, and that was something that also triggered me dating in my past. And love bombing is essentially, at the beginning, everything seems so great and so powerful, and you're going to have everything you've ever wanted, and you know this relationship is going to be the most perfect thing I've ever had. And then suddenly it kind of just like starts dwindling away, and then but we hold on because we remember what those initial moments felt like. We remember that it felt so good at first, and how could it go downhill from there? Like this is love bombing, and that is exactly what it is. And that's a lot of narcissists tend to do that because that's how they reel you in and keep you there for a long time. Like, oh, don't you remember when we were so happy? And like, oh, we could be happy, we were having a good day, but you ruined it, or all those things. So like those would be like my number one tips, like the highs, the lows, the love bombing, the controllingness, anything to do with cheating. Those are like all my big red flags now.
Yeah, no, that's good. But some people can't see it. Some people do move out of
and
love.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not. When I was there, I did not. And my family would try and tell me. And I remember like the Christmas, when I left him in Christmas, the Thanksgiving right before that, my family had found him on Tinder. And it still like didn't even resonate with me. And like I remember my mom telling me after I left him, she had said to me, she's like, I knew you were so desensitized to all the cheating and all the things that were going on, because when she had pulled me aside and said like, hey, one of our family members had found him on Tinder, blah, 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 they're from the same hometown. He was there with me, found him on Tinder in the same location area, whatever. I remember her saying like, I didn't even flinch. Like it was just like another day to me. Like I didn't, no emotions triggered in my brain. I was just like, yeah, like, you know, this is what it is. And that's just how it is. And that's when she noticed like it was a lot worse than she had originally thought. Yeah, it's crazy thinking back to those times. You don't notice when you're in those relationships, and until you're out of that and you do that work, like you just don't notice.
It's absolutely remarkable. Me, I'm huge on self-destruction. Anytime anything's going wrong, like around me, I'm just huge. I'm like, cool, I'll just press the self-destruct button. And as I worked with my therapist, I figured that out. But in my relationships, I felt like I had to be chosen because I have abandonment issues. And so and then what I noticed was every relationship that I got in before, you know, my current relationship, which is an amazing relationship I'm so grateful for, but every relationship before that, it was like, oh, you're kind of temporary, cool, let me hang on to that, you know? And then it's like you leave, but I'm like, I want you to choose me, and it's these patterns that I have. So I guess my question is, was there anything that you noticed about yourself that you had to change and break or mold and manage within yourself? Because you said even after a relationship, you found yourself in more manipulative relationships. What was it that drew you back into those certain circumstances?
I think honestly, familiarity, and just me being such a healer, I always tried to heal the people that I was trying to date, and I just wanted to do well by them. And again, like you said, you just want to be wanted by somebody. As a child who didn't have great parental relationship, I never felt that either. So always just wanting to be wanted. And I used to, until my current relationship, which again is so healthy, and I'm so grateful for him. And, you know, it's something that I know I will spend the rest of my life with this man. And when I think back, even the beginning of our relationship and the things that he had to be patient with me, learning and regrowing, and it's just like that pattern of what you're familiar with. And I was so familiar with just trying to win people over that didn't necessarily want me, but I wanted them to want me. So I would do everything in my power to make them want me, whether that was buy them things or change the way I was, like just to fit their bubble of who I was supposed to be. And relearning how to be in a healthy relationship after that is so hard. It takes so much patience. And I have to say to my boyfriend, like, I'm a little bit anxious because this is kind of a trigger, or, you know, I'm not used to, like, when we started going on dates, I used to pay for everything. And every guy I've ever dated, I used to pay for everything, which wasn't a bad thing. I never thought it was a bad thing. And I'm more than happy to pay for things now. But he took me on a date and he paid. And I was like, whoa, like, this isn't normal. Or like, you know, we go out grocery shopping and he helps pay for stuff. And I'm like, this is like, it's just so unnormal. Or just like him actually caring, like if I'm having a bad day and he like sends me a cute message or sends me flowers, like all of that I'd never had and I just never understood. And I was like, I genuinely don't know how to deal with you. And it took a very long time for my partner and I to finally be together. Like, thankfully we were friends first, and I'm so grateful he stuck around and was patient with me and like let me be anxious and let me do everything, because now we could joke about, you know, so many things that I used to do. But if it wasn't for him being patient, we probably wouldn't be where we are today either. And I wasn't patient with myself when I used to date the wrong men, even though I knew that they were wrong. It was a toxic feeling of I just need to know. And it was my ego. Like, my ego needed to be fed, like, that they want me, they're gonna come back, And when I finally met my boyfriend now, it was like all of that was gone. I didn't care if one of the guys from my past messaged me to let me know that, you know, they still think about me or they miss me, or, you know, because they're needing their ego fed too. Like, that's all that is. And I think humans get so caught up in their ego, and I feel that healthy relationships don't have that, like, you need to feed the ego kind of thing. Like, healthy relationships there's just there. Like, it's so hard to explain, but it feels so normal. And it's not like I'm anxious of every second of every day and I'm not always wondering. And my boyfriend still laughs. Like, sometimes I won't hear from him for a few hours and I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yes, crazy, I'm fine, like, whatever. But I'm so used to accustomed to being like, you know, either my boyfriend is doing drugs or high or drunk or cheating or whatever. And now it's like, now he'll call me and be like, oh, you're just being crazy. Like, and he reassures me. And it takes a lot to go back into something healthy like that. And I'm sure it takes a lot from him. He says it's easy, but I'm sure it takes those extra moments for him to like just think about me and just think about what I've been through and, you know, help me through that. And it's so powerful to be in that space with him and do my healing with him. And I've said it many times. I did as much healing as I could on my own before I started dating again. And now dating again is what's helping me heal those other traumas that I couldn't heal on my own. If that makes sense.
No, that makes complete sense. My therapist and my couple, we do couples therapy, but it's focused on healing with. So whatever she's going through and whatever I'm going through, or whatever I did go through and whatever she did go through, we come together and bring that to the light. We don't have to deal with that in the dark by ourselves, and we heal together. No relationship
I love that.
One be it's beautiful. Like, you gotta be transparent in everything that you want in a relationship. Honesty, integrity, transparency, all of that, you have to bring that to the table. And so as we develop our character, that develops the height of our personal growth, which develops the height of our relationship. And if we want something to last for a long time or stand tall, you know, we got to go deep down to the subsoil of where it all began, and of, you know, it's
and that's exactly it. Like, you have to reface sort of everything. So healing is not always linear, and it's never going to be, because you hit those highs and those lows. And coming from somebody who had a traumatic childhood, I have been diagnosed with complex PTSD due to childhood situations that I've experienced over time. And then with my ex, I just kept experiencing trauma. You have to revisit those traumas. And as hard as that is, you have to kind of revisit those things to push yourself forward and know exactly what that felt like in that moment. What was that? How did it feel? What don't you want? And how can you shift that going forward? Like, you have to really rewire your brain to think differently in every moment going forward for what you don't want. And you have to rewire everything. And that takes so much patience and so much practice with yourself to relearn even what happiness is and what that looks like for you, and the difference between what you used to think happiness was versus what it is now, and what healthy used to be versus what healthy is now, and accepting that you probably made mistakes in your past that you're not happy with, and you probably judge yourself off those all the time. But you have to sit back and not judge yourself for that, and not beat yourself up over all the things that you did in the past. Like, I could sit here for a long time and beat myself up for staying in a relationship for 7 years and wasting my own time and blah, 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 blah. But again, all those things happen for a reason, and we grow from them and we become stronger for them. And those are our pivotal moments in life, and that is what changes us forever. And if I don't feel that if I didn't go through all that trauma and I didn't go through that with my ex, that my relationship today wouldn't be as strong as it is. I just feel that it wouldn't be exactly what it is.
I completely agree with you. And one, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Just wow, like the way that you showed up today, raw, real, authentic, and just very, very open. You know, I appreciate that, and I know the listeners do too as well. Last question, and I'm not to. It is, if you could make a 20-second phone call to your future self, what would you say?
Be strong and be courageous, and approach everything with grace, and just follow your intuition, and everything happens for a reason, and you will find your way no matter what that looks like. If you just follow your intuition, you follow your heart, and you just give yourself a little bit of courage to do exactly what you need to do and be exactly where you need to be in this moment, all the other moments will come after that. And all those moments for shifting and positive change are going to come when you have the courage to be exactly who you are and be exactly where you're supposed to be right now, and not worry about the future and not worry about what happened in the past. Like, right now is what matters, and you have to live in the present moment. You have to be who you are supposed to be right now, not who you need to be in the future. That will come with right now.
Yeah, I feel like that is an affirmation call that we all need to listen to every single day. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please tell everybody.
And thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This has been a blessing. But yeah, tell everybody where they can find you at, what you got going on, what you got coming up, anything, please.
Yeah, Instagram is essentially where I run everything out of. For now, I plan to shift TikTok and Instagram eventually. Right now, I'm only Instagram, so it's KBrookexo, so KBrookexo on Instagram, and that's where they can book calls with me. So I do free 30-minute motivation calls. If somebody wants to discuss coaching, if they want to just discuss positive mindset, kind of how to shift, how to get out of relationships, kind of any of that kind of stuff. If they just want whatever, obviously it's all confidential. I am more than happy to just help people. That is what I'm put on earth to do, and I'm more than happy to just help somebody find their way in whatever that looks like. So if those 30-minute conversations help someone, the booking link is in my bio. And if none of those time slots work, I tell people all the time, just DM me. I will move things around in my schedule to fit and accommodate somebody that needs a call.
That's absolutely wonderful. Yo, super inspiring, a true inspirator. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.